So you're about to be seeing, watching, wandering through an exhibition called Moments of Dignity and Places with the Soul. Let's talk for a minute on the concept of dignity. I derive my concept of dignity from the passage in Genesis, which describes the creation of man. And we read that God created man in his image, created he him, man and woman created he him. And it is that notion that the human creation, that all human beings are created in the image of God, that gives us our essential dignity. Now, it's a complicated concept, and it really has, like Janus, two faces to it. On the one hand, the dignity of the human being means that in some very essential sense, all of us, tall and short, fat and thin, rich and poor, Muslim and Christian, American and Latvian, have a basic essential equality. We are all equal in the eyes of God because we were all created in His image. And given our sorry history of gender relations, God reminds us in that very essential passage, created man, man and woman created He them. So also in terms of gender, there's a real basic equality. And that is an essential part of our human dignity. Long before the French Revolution, long before Immanuel Kant, long before Jürgen Habermas, we already learn that there's a basic notion of equality. We also find that later in St. Paul, when he says, there's no longer Jew or Gentile, there's no longer slave or freedman, there's no longer man and woman, all are saved in the Lord Jesus Christ. It replicates the same notion of basic equality of the human condition. But at the very same time, like flipping a coin and seeing the other side of the very same notion of dignity, is the fact that although we are all equal, all created in the image of the Almighty, each one of us has a unique identity. Nobody is exactly the same as somebody else. We are not fungible. We are not like birds, that if one bird dies or disappears, it makes no difference. It's the flock that counts. In the Jewish tradition, it is said that every individual human being replicates and is as valuable as the entire universe. So you see that it has this kind of Janus, you could almost think contradictory notion in our concept of dignity. We all share a basic equality, which we cannot compromise, and we rebel against any notion of essential inequality. In some way, whites are superior to blacks, or men are superior to women. We cannot accept such. And at the same time, we cannot accept that in some way the life of one person is less valuable than that of another, because we lose something special, unique to that person, that only that person in the whole history of mankind has brought to the world. And it's precisely this duality which I have tried to capture in the photographs that you will see with human subjects, which I call moments of dignity. You will see a series of photographs, mostly of two people standing together. And you will see that these photographs come from all over the world. People with different nationalities, with different religions, with different personal circumstances, in different professions. You will see rich men and paupers, men and women. And to give you one example, you will see a photograph of two museum guards in Brunei. It's clearly they are Muslim women. Look at them. Stand back and watch. They are museum guards, but they could be the princesses of Brunei. At the same time, when you take another look and you reflect on it, you will see deep in their eyes, in their countenance. It doesn't matter that they are just, and I put this in quotes, museum guards. They demonstrate in their look the full dignity of the human subject. There's nothing inferior. There's nothing to apologize for. They are equal to the Sultan of Brunei, whose museum they are guardians of. And practically in every photograph of the human subject, as you walk through the exhibition, that is what I invite you to look for. It's not the beauty of the dress. It's not the beauty of the human subject, handsome men and women. It's that essential dignity of the human subject. In some sense, all the pictures are of people who in some very, very profound way, they are all people. They are similar, they are equal. And yet every single subject is an entire universe. You look, you contemplate, you think, and you realize none of the subjects in these photos is fungible with any other one. There's one other little item in the moments of dignity which I invite you to focus on. Normally, when you take photographs of human beings, you say, cheese, smile. Most photographs look on your iPhones or telephones. When you take photos of your friends, of your relatives, they're all smiling. And I have discovered I love smiling people. But the smile obliterates in some way our uniqueness. When we smile, we look the same. So in most of the subjects, not in all, I invited the people to smile, and then I said, for one moment, be serious. Not sad, not morose, not melancholic, just serious. And that's the moment that I try to capture that essential dignity of the human subject. Places with the soul. There are, I hope you will think, some very beautiful photographs of different places. But this is not National Geographic. It's not about the beauty of the creation. It's not about breathtaking landscapes. It's not about beautiful sunsets or sunrises or waterfalls, etc. I am committed to the human condition, and every photograph of a place has in some profound way been affected by human beings. And what gives the photograph, and by implication the place, its significance in my eyes, what gives it its soul is not the natural beauty of the place. It's the involvement of human beings with the environment, with their topography, with their geography. So you will see, shockingly, the death wall at Auschwitz, with two little mementos that people who have come later to commemorate, to stand in awe, have placed there. So let's move to another place with a soul, the magnificent cathedral, the Duomo of Milan. It really is a stupendous piece of architecture. It explains why the origin of the word culture, which comes from cult, which comes from religion, the most beautiful things we created as part of that cult. But I chose to photograph it as reflected in a different place of worship, a McDonald's. And I could say with a little bit tongue-in-cheek, I wish as many people visited or entered to worship in a cathedral or a mosque or synagogue as entered to worship in McDonald's. But what I want to draw your attention, and here I was inspired by Hopper, the great American painter, there's a solitary figure sitting in the window of McDonald's, pensive, reflective, maybe sad, but for me, more than the shock of seeing the cathedral reflected in the window of McDonald's is that solitary figure sitting there and in some way capturing our current human condition. You have side by side two pictures of Berlin. One is the magnificent, somber, beautiful memorial to the Holocaust, and next to it is a photograph of the new German Bundestag, in itself a great piece of architecture. And I thought placing them side by side is what captures the soul. The new Bundestag, the Parliament of Germany, as a symbol of democracy and pluralism and human rights, but not disconnected from the past, from which it tries to make a rupture and promise us a better future than that which we had in the past. And that is the invitation. In every place that is represented in my photographs, I invite you to look and search for the interaction of the human subject with the topography, with the geography, with the place that is being photographed, and look for the soul of the place in that interaction. I hope you enjoy the exhibition. Thank you.